fuck? Were they worried about what I look like when they should just be listening? You should be listening to this on your drive to work or on your commute, on your headphones, not while looking at the screen. I don't support texting and driving. I don't support walking and texting. Uh, be mindful of your surroundings. That's what
Yeah.
we're trying to teach people.
I mean, but it even just like just recording, there's so much things that you gotta pay attention to. Like not so much, but you could if you were so concerned, like you said, about people, what people think. You start thinking about clothing, lighting, um, how does my bed look for you? Did I get a shape up this week? Should I get a shape up?
That's funny you say that, bro. I haven't had a haircut since I got out the Navy. And I was
Oh,
trying to get one for the wedding that I just went to. And I even in my head, I was like, I'm gonna go to SAC. I'm just gonna find a barbershop in my old hood or something,
yeah.
and just tell them to do whatever with my hair. Cause like,
So how long has it been since
bro,
Noah?
don't tell any black people this. Uh, I got out of the Navy in 2010.
Yeah. Haircuts with us black people is like, it's like weekly, you know.
Yeah, I think it's more important than church, bro.
Exactly. Yeah, guys go to the barber more than they go to their local church, probably. You know
Oh,
what I'm
oh,
saying? It's
100%
almost
right.
going to the barber is almost religious, right? That's like
It is, bro.
a yeah,
That's
man.
funny.
And you
Um,
you get those sermons from the barbershop. Remember, the
exactly.
messages?
That's what I was.
Yo, man. The barbers be on point with the messages. They have their daily inspirational messages. You know, you know.
It's
Imagine
like,
if you was a barber slash pastor, you'd probably be like, "Oh my
bro,
god."
that'd be too much power. That'd be too
Oh
much
yeah.
power, bro. That's
Oh,
too much.
imagine, yeah.
I don't know what to do with that. That's too much access, bro.
Exactly. Oh man, but
That's
yeah,
like, so like, there's this element of the barbershop that is like that is the congregation though, right? It's the
mm,
space to really like what you and I do, right? We talk about real shit, right?
yeah,
It's not how's
yeah,
the weather going and shit. It's real stuff.
yeah,
And there's not a lot of spaces to do that.
yeah. Yeah, you're talking about, in the barbershop, you talk about everything like politics, relationships,
Yeah.
sports, you
Yeah.
know, everything.
Everything, bro. And
Yeah.
not just the barbershop, but in the salon too, right? Like
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
right, like there's this element of being in a group being with a group of folks that you at least feel comfortable enough to just say whatever you're actually feeling, and
Yeah. It's almost a safe space too. Like nobody
it
gets
is.
exposed for saying things in a barbershop, right? You
No,
never hear
exactly.
that. Like it's
No,
like you
exactly.
don't get exposed, You don't hear politicians like, "Oh, he said, you know, he, he said this in the barbershop." That's like a safe space. If you violate that, it's like, you know,
Yo, could you imagine if like Obama was on the trail and like someone came out just like how like when Obama was running against Mitt Romney, someone came out and like dimed Mitt Romney out in one
yeah,
of those like groups where like white people be saying like some stuff in their
yeah.
little groups. Uh, someone dimed Mitt Romney out, but like I'm sure Obama was up in barbershops and no one was like, "Oh, you'll never guess what he said in the barbershop." You're
And
right, bro.
he probably said some stuff,
Of course he did. He was in the
Yeah,
barbershop. Like
yeah, exactly.
like
That's just
that's
part
what
of it.
it's a safe space, like you said, bro.
So
Like
yeah,
that's
yeah.
what it's there for, man. It's
And that's
for us.
is that a unwritten rule? Like, just like whatever you say, it could be the most controversial thing, and
Yeah,
people just let it fly.
yeah. I think so, right? Like it's I also think hmm I don't know. It feels like there might be in that just within communities of color where like people feel what they feel. It's like family business, right? Like
Hmm.
that's what that's for us to think about and digest. It's kind of like this is the whole Will Smith Chris Rock thing, right? So like Will Smith smacked the shit out of Chris Rock, and then
Yeah.
hella people had some things to say about it.
Hmm.
But to white people had hella things to say about it. I feel like black people were like, yeah, we may feel whatever we feel, but like that's like a that's an our thing. That's something for us to figure out, not
Hmm.
for y'all to talk
So
about.
most like a community discussion.
Exactly, right? Like things happen in the community and it's for the community to deal with, not for other people to come in and tell us what they think about what it means for them and things like that. I think
Hmm.
I think that's just an unfortunate side effect of oppression, right? Like when a group is oppressed, never is the whole group like, yeah, the oppressor can come in and tell us what they think about it. It's like, no, we'll deal with it. It's our thing.
Hmm.
We'll figure it out.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, but yeah, that was a big thing as far as like even like when we talk about that incident and we're talking about mental health for black men. I think that
mhm.
incident kind of sparked conversations around that. Like, what was Will Smith experiencing? What happened? Was this an episode? This is unlike him. And then we go back to like how um kind of like mental health impacts just everyone in different social economic statuses as well because he was
Yeah.
obviously going through something. I think even in the speech right after he demonstrated some signs of like, all right, maybe something deeper is happening.
Yeah. I think it was uh, like however shitty we may feel about it, I think it was a good catalyst for talking about that exact thing, right? Like there's no one's immune to these things. Even the most beloved
Yeah.
actor in the world is immune to like the effects of what society and the pressures and what our mental health means to us, like what we have to deal with and how we can control it
Yeah.
or um, come to terms with it. And I'm not happy or mad about it. I am glad that to your point, it sparked a conversation that we need to have, right? Like mental health is a serious thing. It's a prevalent thing. It's also a very uh, it's such a very open term, but there's a lot that we weren't talking about before that has always affected every bit about our lives.
Hmm.
Every single human's life is affected by what their mental and emotional wherewithal is,
Hmm.
and never in the history, at least that we know, who knows what was going on in ancient times that they weren't documenting, but as of in documented history, we have never talked about this key aspect to being a human, and uh, it's so fucking important. It's like the number one important thing, right? Like how we interact with each other. It affects how we interact with ourselves. It affects what we do to one another and to the planet and shit like that. So, uh,
Yeah. And just like if you look at like issues in like, because I know a couple of weeks ago we talked about John Moran, and then we talked, talking about Will Smith with that incident with Chris Rock, even though this is old stuff, but it seems like everything is like the core issue of everything is like public health, like, or just the well being, mental well being of people. Like that seems to always kind of like be the the core of any issue. It seems anyway.
I mean, it is right. That's
Hmm.
exactly it's the number one issue, right? Like how well we understand ourselves and our emotions and how well we get those things in our own control so that we can respond to things the way we want to respond to
Mm-hmm.
rather than respond to things the way our emotions make us respond. Uh, it alleviates so many problems. I mean, I would argue it alleviates every major problem we have. So if we think about uh, the lack of community that we have in our country right now, the lack of people working together or even conversing, that stems from so much of how we perceive ourselves and how we perceive others, which has everything to do with our emotional state, right? Like if someone says something I don't like, I get triggered and then I'm mad or retaliatory and just want to fight against something I don't like. Rather than if we have this sense of self, sense of emotional awareness, then we can hear what someone says, even if we disagree or not. We can then respond to that person or to that idea in like a
Yeah.
healthier manner that sparks conversation rather than just argument and fighting.
Yeah. So, I mean, how much of that is the responsibility of society and or the responsibility of the individual? For me, I think we stated this in the past. And I'll probably continue to say this because this is where I feel I'm at. I think once you become, an adult, um, and there's an understanding of past trauma and past issues, and you said this as well, like nobody's gonna heal you or move in certain ways that make your healing you know easier. It's ultimately, for me, I think it's the responsibility of that individual to um create a path for their healing and to be very um have some level of conviction as far as I need to get well and I will get well. Relying on like others could not result into the outcomes that you may be looking for. Like, what do you think about that?
I think there is a false dichotomy there.
Hmm.
So I feel like in your question is who whose problem is this? Either this or that. It's either
Yeah.
the individual or it's society's.
Hmm.
And I think it's it's both, right? Like our
Hmm.
society makes it very difficult for people to do that. And that's
Hmm.
not
Yes.
fair either, right? So that sure there are people that don't have the will or whatever to do that or the so there's like first there's will. So one part there's will, another part is there's understanding, right? Like some people are ignorant even of the idea that there's something more to be to begin with,
Hmm. Yes.
and it's not their fault, right? Like the world makes it really difficult to know that there is something more,
Yeah.
um, for whatever that means. That's a hard thing to explain, but if you get it, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Uh,
You know what? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, you're good. What?
No, I was saying I really do agree with that. I think it is it's both. It's everyone's responsibility, especially those who are aware. Like, right? It's aware. Um, it's and what you said is extremely powerful. I think it is both. I just I just recognize that sometimes the society isn't aware, and depending where you live and what parts of the country, um, living in areas that are do have lack of resources, and then you think about people who are able to transition and to rise above those circumstances, and a lot of times what they say, I had to rely on myself, right? they almost had to, unfortunately, because certain communities don't have the support and the structure and the resources needed to help elevate the minds of young people or adults who are like stuck or maybe going through like some crisis, whether it's mental health or other issues. Um, so, but yeah, right. And I think that's one of the reasons why these conversations are needed, because we hope that more people have these conversations and um kind of like have these discussions and bring about some level of awareness, especially for underserved communities, and how we can support each other and help um, create structure and how people are able to rise above like crisis, whether it's mental health or other issues.
I s- y- I agree with you for sure. So I feel the same way that you feel. I also am aware that the way that we think isn't necessarily the way that everyone should think or has to think. So,
Mm.
while what I mean to say is, so you and I believe that people should progress to be better and strive to go beyond where they are.
Mm.
And while I feel that way, I also realize that there's nothing in the universe that says that is what everyone should be doing, right? Like that's my hope, and like that would make everything better, right? Like if everyone's trying to be better, this is actually an argument, really just a debate that I got into with someone over these last 2 weeks that we haven't seen each other, which I would
Yeah.
like to talk about how your last few weeks are.
Uh-huh.
Uh, but I got into this conversation with this very wealthy black man in his 50s. And we were talking about paradigms, essentially, like how
Mm.
people are brought up in a way of thinking and what it means to actually be liberated. And
Mm-hmm.
I would like to talk to you about what liberation means. But what he believes is that everyone should be trying to make themselves better. Everyone
Mm-hmm.
should be using whatever moment they're in to make the next moment of their
Better.
lives a better moment. And while that's a lovely sentiment and a great wish for others, there's nothing that states in the universe like that is what everyone should be doing, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's there's so much that goes into being a human, and nothing says that like to keep being a human you have to do that. um, and I think it's unfair for us who believe that to expect everyone to do that, right? Like if you want to just exist in this world, why not be able to just exist? I think that's absolutely fair for anyone to want to do. Or whatever. Everyone should be able to define what their existence is.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and a lot of folks that are ambitious or have dreams or just have like a zeal for life tend to think everyone thinks that way or should think that way.
Yeah.
And I'm, well, I would hope that people do. I don't think they have to.
Yeah. I mean, and also like, I mean, I think people think that way in different stages of their life. I have family members or like friends that were really like unmotivated or uninspired at certain moments in their lives, and then there's other moments. Then something happens, or 10 years later, and they're seeking to evolve, and they're just inspired, and they're, something triggered that for some reason. And there's other moments where somebody may start out as someone who's very motivated and then go through whatever they go through, and then they lose that. Like you said, that's for life. Um, so is I'm not sure what causes those things, but and are we taught? Well, and we're not really like taught like that, right? These not messages out there, at least growing up, where, there's this constant uh seeking of getting better, evolving. I'm not sure if that is something that's like put out there like that. Oh, maybe,
I think in
but
like
there's the go ahead.
I was just gonna say I think it's both, right? I think in some ways it is put out like go explore the world and travel
Hmm.
and learn and try to grow. And I think there's also like enjoy where you are and just be
Yeah,
happy, right? Like I
yeah,
think
be
both
comfortable.
messages, yeah, and I think both messages are sent, and that's probably why I feel like, oh, people should be able to do what they want and choose whichever one they want to be. Again,
Yeah,
sometimes people are all like, I have love, like there's feelings in me that wants to just go settle down in like a mountain forest town and just like chill with life. And then there's other
yeah,
parts of me that want to like still have adventures and things like that. And I can see those
both.
being yeah, yeah, I can see people like only wanting to go settle down in mountain towns, and I think, or in the forest or on the beach or whatever people want to do and just relax.
Yeah,
I,
and it's almost
I
like
think,
both sides are critical. Like, so there's a
yeah,
group that is critical of people who are just like content, like who
yeah,
just have this who are just satisfied with the position they're in, and they're not
yeah,
trying to move. They're not trying to do anything more. And then there's this other side of where, the other side as well,
yeah.
where we say like, let's go, like, why aren't you doing more? And so yeah, I
It's
think
kind
that
of like
is.
the rural parts of the country versus the
Mhm.
city, right? Like we're having that battle constantly, and I feel like that's what the middle of the country, the rural parts of the country, even in these states with big cities, that's what it is. Is like, oh, you city slickers, you're always like out trying to like
Trying to
get shit done
outdo.
and do
Yeah,
things, and then like
yeah,
people in the rural parts are like, I just love my
like
family, my friends, like being here, and
the
I'm with you,
nature,
man.
the open
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
open
right. Just
space.
just
You got.
enjoying being.
Yeah,
Uh, I would argue those folks have less anxiety. I mean,
yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know. I'm just stating that, and I haven't done my fact
Yeah,
checking. So all of you out here that
yeah.
are probably googling it right
That's not-
now, go ahead and let us know. I'm not going to
um,
fact check it, but I think there's something that's more at peace with life and with the world when we are more like, I'm just going to enjoy this and love where I'm at and be
yeah,
here, than those of us that are out here striving to like conquer or learn or adventure and understand. There's always a yearn there.
yeah.
And
So I mean, I think we said, I guess people are able to choose the life they want to choose. So that is something. And
I
if you don't
wish
have the
people were
desire,
more allowed to choose the life that they want to choose, though.
yeah,
Like people, I don't believe that it's true, right? I think people are raised and traumatized and educated and socialized to to do the things that they're doing. And that's where I bring in the liberation argument that I was talking about earlier with this dude, right? Like it's great to feel that way, but what he told me was he as a child his mom told him to always make whatever moment he's in a chance to make the next moment a better moment. And that's wonderful. It's a great and empowering and motivating thing to learn. it is also true that the way that he's living his life is based on what someone told him, that the paradigm or the narrative that was given to him.
Hmm.
And when challenged about whether or not that is his paradigm, um, this person, he kind of broke down and like got in a very childish argument with me. But my point to what I was saying is like, it's not liberation if you haven't taken the time to dissect and understand if it's something that you as a person, I as a person want in my life. It's another structure that has been given to me, and I've lived my life by it, which is it's true for a lot of religion. It's true for capitalism. It's true for reality in general. We've been told what the truth is, and without ever breaking down what it is and what it means to myself, there's no way for me to be liberated because I'm living by whatever has been given to me and not
Yeah.
choosing what I want. And this is my biggest problem with everything that we're doing, right? Like we have this fight for equality and inclusion and all this shit, uh, equity, but none of it is liberation. It's all here's the system that we have, and we're gonna stuff you into this system. And everyone's like, oh, well, I want equality in this system, or I want equity in this system. But no one's like, I want liberation, right? Like liberation is
Hmm.
what we should be fighting for. We're all humans and we're all forced to believe something. And I'm not saying any of the things that we're forced to believe in are wrong or right, but having equity and equality and inclusion into systems that have historically been very foul to us, the entire power structure that we have as humans is wrong. But like everything about it has taken away our humanity. And I can go through a laundry list of things that have led us to the point where we're about to lose all of
Hmm.
our humanity to AI. And no big thought process is like, hold on, let's talk about liberation. We're all talking about equality and inclusion into a very fucked up system that
Yeah.
over uh, jails people. It demeans people with mental health issues. We're only just talking about mental health, even
Hmm.
though we're thousands of years into this thing and we've known that like we behave in certain
Hmm.
ways. We've known behavior exists. We still don't treat emotional health as serious. Uh, and everything that we argue, like all of the politics, all of the laws that we enact, all the ways that we engage with one another, ignores actually being liberated. It all fights for us to fit into certain boxes that everyone's
Yes.
supposed to fit into.
Yeah. That is true. So there is like a lot of it is like societal pressure to fit in. So I mean, cultural pressure, whether it's your from your family, your friends, your community, and just like the greater society as a whole. We do have these pressures to fit in and to be and act a certain way and to like kind of go with status quo. Um, but even with people who are in positions to like liberate themselves, whether they have the financial means or just whatever it is, they might have like the a system or the some things in place where they can be free, and they still tend not to be feel liberated. And I was listening to someone, I forgot who it was, but he said there's more people in chains in the free world than actually in jail because of like the mental um limitations that we put on ourselves a lot of times. And like, go ahead. I don't know what I kind of. What's your thoughts on that? I just lost what I was going to say. I'll get it
You're
back.
good. The that's I mean that's come up in so many rap lines, right? Like the chains of slavery still exist here
Yeah,
today.
yeah.
We're more enslaved than we ever were. I've heard that, and in fact, I might make it a project to go through every
So,
rap song I can find and find where they're referencing how. the current system enslaves us more than what slavery does.
Yeah,
I
because you're
100
so trapped to like cultural societal norms, how we view religion, how we view marriages, how we view culture, how we view parenting, how we view everything. You're so locked in.
everything,
Everything. You're so locked
everything.
in. And once you go out of that box, what happens? The raw criticism comes in,
Yes,
family,
and
friend. And can you deal with that? Most people can't deal with that. So what happens? Let me just go back to being the regular person.
that's bro. It's wild that we've gotten here. So one of the things I actually took notes earlier today because I was like, these are some things that happened to me in the last couple weeks,
Mhm.
and I just wanted to have notes in case we didn't have stuff to talk about, which never
Yeah.
happens between you and me. But it's funny that we get to this exact point where like that is my life, right? I have lived this life where at every stage and don't get me wrong, I have done so much to fit in. I've like faked so many things. I used
Same
to,
here.
bro, I as a kid, I used to pretend like I didn't like fried chicken and watermelon because I didn't want to be black. Honestly, I wanted to fit in with all my white friends. And
Yeah.
so to do that, I would pretend to not like things that are considered
Yeah.
black.
Like
So many issues with that. We could have an
to fit in.
identity to fit in,
Yeah.
bro. But my entire life, despite all of that, I have done things that are still me. And um, it's been a constant struggle. Like throughout my life, to this day, I'm either honestly I'm like hated or loved. People love me or people
Yeah.
like can't stand me.
I
And
feel the same way.
and
Yeah.
that comes from like that sense of not fitting into the norms that we're supposed to fit into, right? Like
It's a
people,
sense of you're owning your freedom. You're
yeah,
making decisions that
say
are
that L word,
outside.
bro. Say that
Yeah,
L word.
liberation is so you're making decisions that outside of like status quo or what people think
Yes.
you should be doing.
Yes.
And
And
that
when
gets
we
people upset. It doesn't
bro,
even affect people and they get upset. Oh
bro,
my goodness.
yo,
Yeah, it's like this is me. Why are you so mad? It gets people upset. How
bro.
dare you be liberated? How dare you go outside of the norm? I don't even think they're aware of like why they're so upset. But
No,
I think it's a sense because they're not, I think so many people don't have the courage to do those things.
bro. Yeah, Bianca, you better
Yeah.
be listening to this episode. So, uh, the that that's a thing that and people can sense it, right? Like they feel this. What I've recognized, and I'm talking about this very
Mm,
wealthy black dude who I
mm,
won't mention his name, but
yeah,
uh, some people will get who I'm talking about.
yeah,
I I had this conversation that turned into like I'm really good at de-escalating people, so it didn't turn
yeah,
into like any kind of fight or anything. But for him, it was really rough, and it's something that I've noticed with a lot, especially with men, but often people in general, is like this sense of security that people like you and me have, where we're not worried about breaking norms or making people
yeah.
feel good or anything like that. We're just going to express ourselves without thinking about how other people will take it. Uh, other
Which
people,
that took a lot of work, by the way,
it
for both of us, probably.
bro, right? Oh yeah,
Yeah,
you don't just get born into this world being like that
yeah,
unless you're a sociopath,
yeah,
uh,
exactly.
which at this point I could be a sociopath. But like that aura or that air of security in oneself often comes off to people as like an affront on them, like an attack, and they don't understand. What I've noticed is like people will get defensive and argue with me, not out of it. Like often I'm like, no, I agree with you. I'm just also adding this thing, right?
Yeah,
I'm not saying you're wrong.
you just
I'm
added
I
something.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just adding more stuff to what exists. Uh, but people will feel offended and defensive. And what I've learned is that I mean, a while ago I learned like that's all them. But
Yeah.
what I've learned, especially on this last trip, going home and experiencing that with like a whole host of different uh, friends or
Hmm.
people who are adjacent to friends, is that I can't allow that to mess up with what I'm doing, right? Like, because there is a point where I'd be like, oh, I got to make sure they understand what I'm saying and make them
Yeah.
feel good and make sure they understand that I still like them or not to hate me or whatever it is
Yeah.
that I'm trying to do, that fitting in kind of thing. And uh, something that's been happening a lot, or I've been learning over the last few years, but this last trip was like, I feel inside me that it was the moment that things switched. Is like, oh
You
yeah,
stop
I'm
caring.
not. Yeah, I can't care, and it's not. And this is what I wrote. I actually took a note of this. It's not that I don't care, which is always what I've always said. My whole life, I'm just like, I don't. I'm someone who just doesn't give a
That was
fuck.
the word.
Yeah, those are the words. But what I mean to say is, and like a friend of mine reminded me, like protect your peace. So it's along the lines of protecting my peace,
Yeah.
but I'm what I wrote is I'm building my peace with not trying so hard and giving too much energy to explain myself.
Yeah.
So it's not that I don't give a fuck. It's that I just don't have the energy to spare to deal with stuff like this. Like
and
this
and
is
you and you know the outcome, like we're you kind of like know that you explaining yourself over and over again is not going to really shift that person's
yeah.
frequency, because it's not about you. It's not even about
Hmm.
what you said. Now you trigger something within them and they're just
Hmm.
replaying it, within themselves. So I mean, you can just clarify, but at that point they have to work with what they need to work with inside. Um, and we've all been there. I mean, like, and that's why I'm able to understand it, because I've been on the side where somebody says something that triggers me, and my reaction was maybe a certain way. But I had to learn to that to learn myself and to learn those triggers, uh, so I can address whatever is the real root of that
Yeah.
is. So I can't blame that person for like triggering me. I have to That's just a mirror of something that I need to work on. So like when you have these discussions with people, they are a reflection of what we are feeling inside. So that when we are triggered, you should be thankful, because now he triggered you or someone triggered you. Now you are aware of what you need to work on. So all right, this triggered me. So now I need to dig deep into this. So actually, sometimes being triggered could actually bring an opportunity to heal yourself.
Yeah, I've never, honestly, never thought about it that way. Right. And
Man,
I'm always talking.
thank you for triggering me.
Thank you
Now
for
I can do this
triggering.
work. I can go to I'm going to go into my therapist with this.
And that is our challenge for all of you out there. The next time you
Yeah,
get triggered, thank the person for triggering you.
exactly.
No, but for real, that's so like I've hinted at this in so many ways. Like part of I love my partner so much. And I
Yeah.
also like hate her so much. And the reason I hate her, like we get in real fights and I don't fight anybody. I'm the
Yeah.
chillest person.
Yeah.
But she fucking triggers me. And what I love about our relationship is that she challenges me. Like I realize the things that I need
Yeah.
to be better at,
Yeah.
even though I blame her for all of it. Uh, but
Yeah.
what you just pointed out is exactly that point, right? Like, I love you because you trigger me and you
Yeah.
fucking get me to be better.
Better, yeah. Yeah.
I've been in a lot of relationships. I've been in like relationships that we've never fought in. I leave every relationship that I ever fight in except for this one.
Yeah.
And you just explained it to me exactly that. I'm just like,
Yeah.
and that's probably going to be in our vows. So I hope she doesn't hear this episode, but
Yeah.
I'm going to be
Okay.
like, thank you for triggering me.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's the
I
name.
think.
That's the name of this episode. That's we got to
Oh
name this
yeah. Thank you.
episode.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
triggering
Thank
me.
you for triggering me. Yeah. Oh yeah. Exactly. I've learned a lot about myself through through people triggering me or through those triggers. Um.
That's a powerful way to look at it,
You.
man. So I'm
Yeah. And
happy for you.
you're gonna keep getting triggered by it until you deal with it. So you know you already know, and so it's almost like the universe is telling you like you need to address this. So it's gonna keep happening until you address it. So
Yeah.
and we start the thing is we start blaming others for those like it's those things. So it's like this is you triggered me. I had to respond and I had to be like real nasty. No, you didn't have to. You what you could do is heal from whatever that issue is. This way you
Yeah.
won't have to respond so like that because ultimately your those negative responses are not helpful. And then brings you guilt because oh man, I shouldn't have responded like that. So we can choose to reflect and to address those issues instead of like kind of almost being a victim because then we go back to past experiences. I'm like this because this person did this to me when I was this age or so on. So but because of that you end up taking it out on other people in your life um that may be helpful or just someone who could be someone important in your life or special in your life, and we end up taking the issues that we had in our past and projecting it on others. So,
Or
like
even
people,
nobody's, right? Like
yeah,
you get some people
yeah.
take shit out on like
So
the
random, the
fucking
the the gas station guy. He's like, "Yo, I was just trying to
right?
pump your gas," and you was like,
Yeah.
"I didn't do nothing. I was just having a conversation about something I heard on the radio, but apparently that topic triggers you, so I gotta get yelled at." Like I'm, yeah.
Yeah,
Imagine that.
exactly. Or even
Yeah.
worse, like mass shootings, right? Like it
Oh,
goes to it's not just like the people in our lives. This is and this is back to like, is it the individual's fault or the society's fault? But like it leads to macro level issues
big
too.
issues
Yeah, right. Or
because
even
of like
let's
pain
not
and
just
pain.
let's not just use that, but what about these billionaires that put a lot of money into enacting laws that fuck over people because of whatever slight they felt when they were fucking 12 years old or something.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, you're right. So imagine people in powerful positions get
yeah,
triggered by someone and they
like
end up like
police.
putting policies in place that like disrupts communities, right? Because they haven't
Absolutely.
healed, but because they're in a powerful position, they're able to do stuff that can impact people. Oh man. But yeah, I mean, there's so
There's got to
many.
be comedy somewhere.
Yeah, but there's so many things that like we can identify with people haven't healed project their frustrations and anger towards people who have nothing to do with the issue, the core issue.
Yeah, I would say
Yeah,
that's pretty much all of our crime. I would say that's all crime.
yeah.
Maybe there's
Can everything be solved through just healing?
Bro, that's what I said at the beginning. I just wanted to go on the record. That's what I said at the beginning of this episode.
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
imagine.
if we
Let's do just
understood, if we
healing
saw,
circles everywhere.
bro, if we understood how to like manage our emotions, we respond to shit way differently. We wouldn't have war. We wouldn't have rape or murder. Crimes of passion are all about people not knowing how to handle their hurt. Uh,
Mm.
Bullying, right? Like, I honestly can't think of anything. Maybe identity theft. is the only one.
That's the only.
Just be out here like trolling people.
Is that?
I still think
That's
I
some
don't know,
trauma
maybe
in that.
trolling. I'm not sure. I think there are some people that just like to play pranks on people and they think it's funny. And I'm
uh,
not gonna lie, I think it is
somebody,
kind of funny. So
somebody, actually, my father called me today. He said somebody tried to scam him. And they use like family members you love to like get
damn,
you to
like
get their money. So he calls me panicking, and I'm like, no, this is a scam. I got scared a little bit, but then I'm like, this got to be a scam. So I made the calls when I need, but yes, just off topic, but yeah, you said scam and identity
yeah, no,
theft. So
I think scams are I think scams are in that world where I'm not sure if that could be solved with emotional development. I think that just might
that's
be up
just
there with
like,
pranks, like just
yeah, certain
dickheads
people are
being
just trying to
dickheads.
get away with, yeah.
Yeah.
Some people are just like, remember last week you said, is this just mental health or just being a knucklehead? Like certain things we can't just keep saying mental health, like, oh,
Yeah.
you need healing. Sometimes
Like,
these people just trying to
nah.
get, you
Yeah.
know, we can't just be blaming everything. That's going to be the new thing now. Like, oh, I
It's
need
already,
healing.
what do you mean going to be? That is the new thing.
No, I
We
need
just blame
healing.
everything on mental health.
Yeah.
To be fair,
I
a
had to
lot of
have,
things do have to do with mental health. Like we just
yeah.
said, I think everything can be solved with a little bit of mental health, except for scams. I
Yeah, exactly. Like, no,
think.
yeah, you just trying to get, take advantage of stuff.
I think.
But
Oh man, I think that was a good episode. I think we hit some good points.
yeah, no, I think we like usual. We go into like one thing and then we kind of like transition and then we expand and then
But we
um
always relate it, and all of that related. It all came back to all of this shit could be solved if we just figure out the internal shit, bro. Like,
internal shit.
yeah,
Yeah, internal shit. A lot of like everything is starts within, right? It starts
Ev-
within.
all of it starts within.
It
It
starts
doesn't
within.
start from out there. Like
It
it's not
start.
like if we travel to another planet, we'll finally figure out what's wrong with us, right? Like it's not like if we discover the answer to the universe, we'll finally figure out why we can't treat each other as humans.
Yeah,
Uh, no matter what we do external from us, it will never solve this age old battle that we have with ourselves.
it within.
Yeah.